Hey, we are almost there. 14 days left of school and counting. Okay, today we're going to talk about simple interest. Okay, simple interest is, okay, I'm going to give you the formula in writing and and then I'm going to tell you what they represent. Simple interest is principal times rate times time. Okay? And you might be asking yourself, well, what is principal and the rate of what and what time are you talking about? So we're going to answer those things. Okay, so let me grab a different colored marker here. Let's go with orange. So let's talk about interest. What is interest? Let's give ourselves a definition. Interest is the money paid at a particular rate for the use of money lent out. Okay, so some of you might still be asking, well, what does that actually mean? So when you are borrowing money or lending money from someone, okay, interest is the money that you have to pay back to that person for them allowing you to borrow their money. So if I borrowed $25 from Mrs. Charlton, she might say, okay, you can have my $25 for right now if you promise to pay me back the $25 plus interest. Okay, so she might say you owe me 10% interest. Okay, so 10% would be the rate of the money that I have to pay her back on the money I lent out. So 10% of that $25 I will have to continue to pay her back each time, maybe each month. Okay? So that's kind of the general idea behind interest. So now let's talk about the next word that we need to know, which is principal. Okay, the first part of our formula up here is principal. So in order for us to find how much interest we will owe, first we need to know what the principal is. Okay, principal. Okay, the principal is the amount of money borrowed or money earned if using a bank account. Okay, so the principal is either the money that we are borrowing from someone, how much money we are borrowing. So if I borrowed $25 from Mrs. Charlton, $25 would be the principal. Or, okay, let's say that I have a bank account and I have earned $25 is the principal that I earned from saving my money in that account for a certain period of time. They gave me $25 more to my account. Okay, so that would be principal. Usually you're going to think of the principal in terms of you borrowing money. How much did you borrow? Okay, now let's talk about the rate. Okay, the rate is the percentage of amount that will be paid. Okay, so the percentage of the amount of money that we will be paying back. Okay, so they will always give you, if you're trying to find the simple interest, okay, they will give you a rate at which the interest must be paid back, okay, which will be in the form of a percent. The last thing we need to know is the time, okay? How many years or how much time are you promising to have paid back all of the money that you owed or that you borrowed? Okay, so the time is going to be in years usually, because usually you're not going to borrow money unless it's big chunks of money. Okay, and those big chunks of money will take years to pay back. Okay, otherwise you wouldn't need to borrow it. Okay, so in years, and then you need to know if they give months, convert to years. Okay, so we have three very important things here. In order to find our interest, simple interest, we need to first know the principal, we need to know the rate, and we need to know the time. If we know those three things, then we can solve for the interest. We just multiply all three. Remember, if we have a rate, which is a percentage, you're going to have to move the decimal place over 2 spaces before you can multiply, because you have to turn it into a decimal. If they give you months, you must turn that into years first. So if they give you 6 months, then in terms of years, that would be 0.5, because it's half of a year. So you must turn that into years first. So let's give an example. Let's give an example. So if we are starting with, let's say we have a principal, or the amount of money that we borrowed is $10,000. Maybe we want to buy a car that costs $10,000. So we borrow $10,000 from a bank, and the rate at which we are going to have to pay that back that we have been given is 4.5%. Okay, the rate that they have given you is a 4.5% rate, and we have promised to pay that back in, let's say, 5 years. Okay, so again, we have principal, rate, and time, and we just are going to multiply those. But before we can do that or plug it into a calculator, we need to rewrite that problem in a format that can actually be solved, because this percentage needs to be turned into a decimal. So we move the decimal over 2 places, so we have 0.045 times 5. So now all you have to do is plug that number, those numbers, into a calculator. So if we do 10,000, okay, 10,000 times 0.045 times 5 equals 2,250, okay, and that is dollars. So that is your interest. So what that means is if you borrow $10,000, you are going to have to pay back in 5 years that $10,000 plus interest, which is $2,250 total. So in total now, you are actually paying $10,000 plus $2,250. Okay, so 05221. Okay, so in total, that is how much money you will actually have to pay back for borrowing $10,000. Okay, so depending on if they ask you how much money how much money you will pay in total, including interest, okay, this would be your answer. If they only want the interest, then this would be your answer. That's how much you are paying in interest over 5 years. Okay, keep in mind that we already know from learning about algebra that if you are missing one of these and you already know what the interest is, okay, they might, in a problem, they might give you the interest and you might not know how many years it will take, or you might not know the rate, or you might not know the principal. Okay, as long as you have 3 of these things, algebraically we can always solve for the third one. Okay, for example, if we had 0.45 as the rate and the principal as 10,000, and we multiply those, okay, so 10,000 times 0.045, okay, that would be 450. If we did not know the amount of years, but we knew that the interest was 2,250, we could just take 2,250 and divide that by 450. Okay, right? Because if this was x, we would divide by whatever is over here to get x by itself, and it would come out to x equals 5. It would tell you that the years was 5. So just know that we can always work backwards if given the interest to solve for an unknown amount. Okay, so that is our simple explanation of simple interest. I would like you to grab the worksheet, the practice worksheet on the counter. I would like you to do number 1 and come check it with me and then finish the worksheet.